Hi, I'm Tonima, and today I picked a topic which is, of course, one of the tragic stories that we've been following through the whole of this week. Nepal has lost over 150 lives in the devastating earthquake which hit the Himalayan country just a few days back. Now, earthquakes are not new to Nepal. There have been multiple earthquakes just over the past 2 months, and this one, of course, is the biggest that the country has experienced in a long time. The last one that I remember in 2015, nearly 9,000 lives were lost. We are, of course, covering, my colleague Tanishk is bringing us ground reports from Nepal as we speak. But what I wanted to look at in this video is why is it that Nepal, which is a country so prone to earthquakes, first of all, why is it so prone to earthquakes? And secondly, why has the country not been able to prepare itself to handle the situation better? So, to begin with, if we look at the main reason, which is of course geographical, that Nepal lies in a continental collision zone. Now, what do I mean by that? I want to get this right, so I will refer to some notes that I made on this subject. Now, essentially, there are two tectonic plates that where Nepal is actually cradling these two tectonic plates. One is the Indian plate, the Indian Asian plate, and the other one, of course, is the Tibetan or the Eurasian plate. And Nepal has in fact been created, and even the Himalayas have in fact been created because these tectonic plates are constantly brushing against each other. And in fact, it was 50 million years ago that the plates initially started pushing against each other, which eventually led to the creation of the Himalayas. The Indian plate is still moving at an average of about 4 to 5 centimeters per year. It's moving towards the north, so that's the plate which is primarily pushing the Eurasian plate. And because of this, the rocks have been constantly under the push and strain, and there's a buildup which happens over a period of years. And when the strain energy exceeds the elastic limit of the rock, they break to generate an earthquake. Now, as it's mentioned clearly in this explanation, that the strength of the earthquake, of course, depends on the strain which has been generated over a period of time. Now, another thing that I noticed while researching on this subject is that, as we mentioned, yeah, this point is already covered, that the tectonic plates are pushing against each other. Another point that I noticed was that a lot of these quakes, which have higher intensity, is because the earthquake has generated at a shallow level. To explain this better, it means that the point of generation or the epicenter of this earthquake does not lie closer to the core, closer to at a deeper level. It is basically closer to the surface level of Earth. For example, the 2015 earthquake was around the earthquake was generated around 11 to 15 kilometers below the surface level of Earth. So the more shallow the level of the earthquake, the intensity, of course, is much greater. And the readings on this one, of course, is going to come out in some time. We know that in terms of Richter scale measurement, the earthquake which has just happened is over 6 on the Richter scale level. But in terms of the measurement of the shallowness of the earthquake, that reading will come out in some time. Now, it's very clear why Nepal is earthquake prone, but what exactly has been done about it by the government, or what are some of the challenges which have cropped up in front of the Nepal government for them not to be able to handle this situation properly? Now, one of the things which has come up time and again after talking to people and in the research that I did is that there's been a construction boom due to increasing urbanization in Nepal. Number of migrants who are working out of Nepal, whether it's in India or any other country for that matter, they have in fact been sending back some funds, a lot of money to their families, and that has led to a number of buildings which are cropping up in different parts of these disaster prone zones. Now, whether it's about the 2015 earthquake or even the ones which happened closer earlier this year, there have been a series of earthquakes in Nepal, and it's not an irregular feature. But despite that, there has not been a scientific method, or not much of a scientific method has been used by the Nepal authorities, by the Nepalese government, while controlling the level or the areas in which this which these building or settlements have in fact come up. There are building bylaws which have been set in place, but whether that's being properly followed, if we are to believe the reports that I was reading, there's not much implementation on ground. So that is clearly one of the problems that Nepalese authorities have in fact faced. And even when we talk about, let's say, these are not newer constructions but older buildings, they have been flattened repeatedly by earthquakes because of the poor or the old technology which has been used in terms of the construction techniques. And for these reasons, we haven't really seen much which has been done in terms of controlling or at least planning some of the um, uh, urbanization plans that the Nepalese authorities have in fact cleared. And also, as we know that Nepal is, of course, one of the developing countries in the region, and considering some of these challenges, primarily which are social and economic in nature, not much planning or funds have been laid out for really chalking out what they can do better in order to make Nepal safer in terms of lying in an earthquake prone zone. In fact, the government claims that they have ordered open spaces to be planned when these urbanization plans are actually finalized, and that building bylaws have also in fact incorporated some of these points, but the implementation on ground is very poor, which brings us to the question as to whether Nepal will learn lessons from history. In fact, I was again reading up certain expert reports, and they have clearly said that if Nepal continues to ignore lessons from the past, they are going to pay a huge cost in the future. Now, are Nepalese authorities finally going to wake up after this earthquake and make certain serious changes on ground? That's something time will tell. Thanks for watching.